Kia ora, this is Colin Bjork again here with a brief video to show you how to respond to the copy editing systems of large academic publishers. Okay, so this video is specifically for the point at which you have submitted an article to a journal, it has been reviewed by the blind reviewers, accepted by the editorial team, you've made any revisions, and they say, great, this is fantastic, we're ready to send this off to press, okay? And when you send it off to press, if you're working with a large journal, especially one that's a print/digital journal, they often work with even larger publishing systems. And you will have heard of these large international publishers. They are Taylor and Francis, Elsevier, Springer. There are lots of these different journals. And once you've got to this point, you might think, sweet, I have no more changes to make to my article. It's just going to go straight to print. Well, that actually is not quite true, because these large international publishers employ copy editors to make some final edits and suggestions to your writing that can refine it. So what I have here is I want to briefly walk you through the interface of one of those systems and give you a few notes of things to think about when you get to this point in the publishing process. You are really close to getting published at this point. So I'm working with a journal that is contractually tied to Taylor and Francis, and Taylor and Francis has this lovely, but not really, you can hear the sarcasm in my voice, system called CATS, the Central Article Tracking System, which tracks journal articles as they move through their production process. So you have to, like all these interfaces, create a username and a password, which I've already done before. Thank goodness it auto-filled it for me, and I'm going to log in. By the way, I got to this page from an email, an auto-generated email that was directly sent to me from Taylor and Francis that said, hey, your page proofs are ready for review. Please click this secure link to access your page proofs and respond to your copy editor. So what you'll see here is I'm actually the editor of a special issue. So actually I can pop into all of the articles of every author in my special issue and check out what things the copy editor said to the authors and how the authors are responding to those recommendations. Here, however, I'm going to focus specifically on an article that I authored with Butre, my Swedish colleague, and just show you this interface. So what you do, right, you see all your articles get assigned a unique identifier here. They have the title. This is the name of the specific journal. This is what issue it'll be in. And this is when they sent out their corrections, and this is when they wanted them due. By the way, this is totally unfair. 7 days. They told me originally, they were like, oh, by the way, your article's in queue. We're going to spend 2 weeks working on it and give you 1 week to get your edits in. Okay. If you're a first-time editor or first-time author, don't fret, okay? Dialogue back and forth with usually you'll be given the contact information with an editor. Oftentimes these due dates are meant to scare you, and there's often some wiggle room, okay? Not always and not forever. And there is a protocol, like if you don't respond to them, they'll send you reminder emails usually after that they will maybe contact the editor and try to find a way to respond to this. They have a protocol, but if you need more time, try to get in touch with someone immediately. And if you miss that deadline, odds are it's not the end of the world. Odds are you just get a pesky reminder email for a little bit of time, okay? But you do want to get to this sooner rather than later, so you make sure not to miss the particular issue that it will be a part of. Okay. I often have menus on the left and the right. By the way, if you cruise through these menus, you'll see different things pop up. It's also super slow because, of course, these are cumbersome proprietary systems. So I want to highlight this. Again, different systems are going to look different. This is the system for Taylor and Francis. Elsevier's, which I've used before, also looks slightly different. This is one way you can review your proofs, but I want to highlight additional actions, okay? You want to add your ORCID ID, okay? In fact, when I hadn't yet added my ORCID ID, there was a prompt telling me to add it. You want to do it. Your ORCID ID, if you aren't familiar with that term, is your unique identifier for you as a research scholar. It follows you wherever you go, even if you change your name or your university institution or whatever. This is a tool to help authors and libraries find your work quickly. So make sure to attach your ORCID ID. That's the main thing I want to point out here. Obviously, if you had some funding that supported your research, you can insert that information here. And if you want to purchase issues, you can do that. But gosh, don't spend money on it when your library will get it for you for free. Okay. By the way, they have an FAQ section over here. Always read the FAQ. This is where I noticed specifically Taylor and Francis says what happens if you miss the deadline. Okay, it's not the end of the world. They have this particular protocol. Okay, so be sure to read the FAQ so you have any particular information that you need to know how to fill out and respond to your reviews. So let's take a look at the I have two proofs in here for review, by the way, because we wrote the introduction to the special issue and we wrote a full article as part of it. Let's hop in and take a look at the proofs. Now let me show you this, okay? You can review your proofs two ways. You can review them online in their built-in and super clunky system, or you can have them send you a PDF, okay? This is an important decision, especially if you're co-authoring, okay? First of all, if you do it online, at least the way CATS works, and I suspect the other systems for Elsevier and Nature or Springer are similar, is that only one person can enter them online, okay? And in the case of CATS, when I go to insert comments online, if I have a co-author, as I do here, I can't see the comments that she's made at all. And she can't see the comments that I've made. This proves really, really difficult when trying to collaborate and respond to the specific queries, okay? This is where the PDF option is often a lot better because you can download a PDF with these author queries from the copy editor, and the queries will be built in as comments to the PDF, and then you can circulate the PDF around your entire research team and with your co-authors, and everyone can respond to the bits that most align with their research. Okay. Whereas if you try to enter everything online, you most likely, especially if you're working the CAT system, only you'll be able to review your edits, which is problematic. It's only useful if you're a single author, and frankly, even if you're a single author, this interface is so darn clunky that I recommend just doing it via PDF. Okay, but let me show you why it's so clunky. So here's our article, all right? And what they want you to do is, please provide the missing city and postal address for both authors. Okay, and if you click this, it's hyperlinked. Hey, that's nice, and here's my name, and I didn't provide a full address, so I need to provide a full address. All right, but here's how you're supposed to respond. See this query button in the bottom left? You're supposed to go query one, page whatever, line whatever, right? This is given a line, although let me show you why it's so darn cumbersome. Page, there are these oftentimes the page numbers aren't stable. Like it says 3 technically up here, but it's actually not page 3. It's page 3 of this, but of the actual journal, it's actually probably page 231 yet. Essentially, the pages haven't been officially identified yet because it hasn't completed this step of the copy editing. So as a result, I can't provide a page number, which is a pain in the butt. Okay. Also, line numbers are tricky. Often line numbers are useful. Like they allow you to say, oh, in line 20 when we're talking about vampires, blah blah blah. But how do you do line numbers for this? Right? There is no line number for this. It's not even a footnote. You can't say footnote number 1 because it's actually just the contact information. So the point is, this system doesn't fully pertain to all of the possibilities of issues you could have. Also, if you want to make major changes, like actually in the other article that I'm working on right now, we decided we wanted to change the verb tense of about a big chunk of text about this size. And you have this tiny little comment box that, yes, it shows you it can be bigger, but it's really, really hard to work inside this comment box when you are working with larger chunks of texts. So the point is, this is the system. It's not great. You'll see as I scroll through our document that on the left periodically, the queries will pop up. Also, it's so slow at scrolling. Do you see how slow it is and how much lag there is in this giant system? So I can always hover over it and see what the query is. Oh, it's wondering whose emphasis is this. Okay, the emphasis is original, therefore it needs to say to, comma, emphasis original. So I would respond, in here I would say query number 2, line whatever, emphasis is in the original text. We didn't change anything. Okay, and you can just go through your entire article. And by the way, I do highly, highly recommend that you do not just review these 13 queries, okay? Or however many queries you have. Don't just answer those and think that you're done. Read through the entire thing top to bottom, because errors could have been introduced in the time that your article went from the editor of the journal to the publisher of the journal, okay? For example, you want to make sure your name is spelled correctly and that they've got the title correct, okay? You want to make sure that every sentence reads the way that you want it to. And in fact, we noticed one major problem with this article. All of the footnotes that we had in our original draft that was approved by the editor have been deleted. And you will see there are no footnotes in this article. Somehow, in the publishing process, all of our footnotes got deleted. So I'm really glad that I spent the time to read through the entire thing and notice that all my footnotes were missing. Also, you'll see another error. Let me show you another error that was introduced at some point in the publishing process. On the works cited, we cite a number of Swedish dissertations, but if you look very closely, it says dissertation, not dissertation, okay? When I went back and looked at our original draft that we sent through to the editor of the journal, and the editor said this looks great, we actually we wrote this as DISS full stop, because we thought that was the appropriate way to cite it. Turns out someone along the way decided it needed to be spelled out, but decided to spell dissertation incorrectly. We have the word dissertation in here 4 times, and all 4 times it's spelled incorrectly, which is embarrassing. So reread your entire document, not just the queries, okay? And reread the works cited. You never know when an error might have been introduced that could negatively affect your ethos as a scholar and as a researcher. So this is how the awkward, cumbersome system works. You can, when you get done, you can save your corrections if you get interrupted and continue it later, and it should ostensibly save them. And then once you're done, you can submit all corrections. Please don't approve without correction. You want to have agency and ownership over the things that you author. So do respond as you have time, okay? Again, if you choose send PDF by email, it says it has a massive lag time. So allow yourself some time, okay? Otherwise, that's it. This is the cumbersome system. In most cases, especially when you're working with co-authors, I highly recommend that you do the PDF because it's easier to enter comments, it's easier to view comments, and it's easier to share comments among your entire publishing team.